Imagine waking up one morning, and the sun simply doesn't rise. No sunlight. No warmth. No blue sky. Within minutes, the entire planet begins to panic. Temperatures start dropping. Plants stop producing oxygen. Cities fall into darkness. But here's the terrifying question. What would actually happen if the sun died? Would Earth instantly freeze? Would the solar system collapse? Could humanity possibly survive? Today, we're going to explore one of the most fascinating and terrifying cosmic events imaginable, the death of our sun. And what scientists believe will happen to Earth when that day finally arrives. The sun is more than just a bright object in the sky. It is the engine of our entire solar system. This gigantic ball of burning plasma sits nearly 150 million kilometers away from Earth, yet it controls almost everything about our planet. The sun provides the light that plants use for photosynthesis. It gives Earth the heat that keeps our oceans liquid. It drives our weather systems, our climate, and even the winds that move across continents. Without the sun, life as we know it would not exist. In fact, the sun contains more than 99.8% of all the mass in our solar system. Every planet, from Mercury to Neptune, moves in orbit because of the sun's gravity. Earth is essentially locked in a delicate gravitational dance around this massive star. But here's something many people don't realize. The sun is not eternal. Just like every star in the universe, it has a life cycle. And one day, it will die. To understand how the sun will die, we first need to understand how it lives. Deep inside the sun's core, something incredible is happening. Temperatures reach over 15 million degrees Celsius. At these unimaginable temperatures, hydrogen atoms are smashed together in a process called nuclear fusion. 4 hydrogen atoms combine to form one helium atom. But during this process, a tiny amount of mass is converted directly into energy. That energy is released as light and heat. Every second, the sun converts about 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium. And a portion of that mass becomes pure energy, radiating out into space in every direction. Some of that energy travels across 150 million kilometers of empty space and reaches Earth. It takes about 8 minutes and 20 seconds for sunlight to reach us. That light powers nearly every living system on our planet. But here's the catch. The sun is slowly running out of fuel. Stars are born, they live, and eventually they die. Our sun formed about 4.6 billion years ago from a massive cloud of gas and dust. At the center of that collapsing cloud, gravity squeezed material together until nuclear fusion ignited. That was the birth of the sun. Right now, the sun is in what scientists call the main sequence phase of its life. This is the longest and most stable period of a star's existence. During this time, hydrogen is steadily fused into helium. For the sun, this phase lasts about 10 billion years. Which means something important. The sun is already almost halfway through its life. But don't panic. It still has roughly 5 billion years left before things start getting truly dangerous. However, the end will not be quick or peaceful. When the sun begins to die, it will transform into something terrifying. Eventually, the sun's core will run low on hydrogen. Fusion will begin to slow down. Without enough outward pressure from fusion, gravity will start pulling the core inward. As the core collapses, something strange happens. The temperature actually increases. This intense heat causes the outer layers of the sun to expand outward dramatically. The sun will begin transforming into what astronomers call a red giant. And this is where things become extremely dangerous for Earth. Because during this stage, the sun will grow hundreds of times larger than it is today. Imagine looking up at the sky and seeing the sun grow bigger and bigger every year. Eventually, it could expand so much that it swallows entire planets. Mercury will be gone. Venus will be gone. And Earth may not survive either. When the sun enters its red giant stage, it will become absolutely enormous. Its outer atmosphere will stretch far into space. Scientists estimate the sun could expand up to 200 times its current size. To put that into perspective, if the sun suddenly became that large today, its surface would extend close to the orbit of Mars. The sky from Earth would look horrifying. The sun would appear dozens of times larger than it does now. The heat would become unbearable. Oceans would begin to boil. The atmosphere would start escaping into space. Temperatures on Earth could rise to thousands of degrees. Long before the sun physically reaches our planet, Earth would already become completely uninhabitable. All life would vanish. Every ocean would evaporate. Our once blue world would become a dry, burning desert planet. But the story may get even worse. Because some scientists believe Earth might not just be destroyed. It might actually be swallowed. For years, astronomers debated whether Earth would survive the sun's red giant phase. There are two possibilities. In the first scenario, the sun expands enough to completely engulf Earth. If that happens, our planet would spiral into the sun's atmosphere and be vaporized. Rocks would melt. The crust would disintegrate. Earth would literally dissolve into the star that once gave it life. But in another scenario, Earth might barely escape. As the sun expands, it will also lose a huge amount of mass. This reduces its gravitational pull. If gravity weakens enough, Earth's orbit could slowly drift outward. Our planet might move farther away from the sun, just enough to avoid being swallowed. But even if Earth escapes physically, life will already be long gone. So if Earth is doomed, could humanity survive somewhere else? The answer may depend on technology far beyond what we have today. In billions of years, humanity, or whatever species evolves after us, might become incredibly advanced. Civilizations could potentially colonize other planets. Or even move beyond our solar system entirely. One possible refuge could be the outer planets. When the sun becomes a red giant, distant icy worlds might actually become warm enough for liquid water. Moons around Jupiter and Saturn could briefly become habitable. But this window would only last a few million years, a blink of an eye in cosmic terms. The better solution would be leaving the solar system altogether. Traveling to another star. Finding a new home. A new sun. But that raises an even bigger question. What happens to the sun after the red giant phase ends? Eventually, the sun will exhaust the last of its nuclear fuel. When that happens, it can no longer support its massive outer layers. Those layers will begin drifting away into space. They will form a glowing shell of gas surrounding the dying star. Astronomers call this structure a planetary nebula. Despite the name, it has nothing to do with planets. It is simply the beautiful remains of a dying star. From far away, it would look like a giant glowing ring of colorful gas expanding into space. Inside that glowing cloud, something small but incredibly dense will remain. The sun's core. This leftover core becomes a white dwarf. A white dwarf is one of the strangest objects in the universe. Imagine squeezing the mass of the sun into something roughly the size of Earth. That's what a white dwarf is. Its gravity becomes incredibly strong. A single teaspoon of white dwarf material would weigh tons. But unlike the sun today, a white dwarf no longer produces energy through fusion. Instead, it slowly cools over billions of years. The once bright sun will become a dim, fading ember in space. No sunlight. No warmth. Just a cold stellar corpse. And the solar system will never be the same. After the sun becomes a white dwarf, the solar system will grow dark and silent. The planets that survive will continue orbiting this tiny stellar remnant. But they will be frozen worlds. Temperatures across the solar system will drop to extreme lows. The skies will remain permanently dark. Over trillions of years, the white dwarf sun will cool further and further. Eventually it will become something called a black dwarf, a completely cold, invisible object. However, the universe is not old enough for any black dwarfs to exist yet. So in a way, the final stage of the sun's life hasn't happened anywhere in the universe, yet. It lies in the unimaginably distant future. But it will happen. Thinking about the death of the sun might sound terrifying. After all, it means Earth, and everything we know, will eventually disappear. But there's another way to look at it. The sun's lifespan is incredibly long. 5 billion years is almost impossible to comprehend. For comparison, humans have only existed for about 300,000 years. Civilization has existed for just a few thousand. In cosmic terms, we have barely begun our journey. And long before the sun dies, humanity may evolve, expand, and explore the stars. Perhaps our descendants will witness the sun's final transformation from a safe distance. Watching as the star that once gave birth to life slowly fades into the darkness of space. Until then, the sun will continue rising every morning. Shining. Warming. Sustaining life on this small blue planet. And reminding us how precious, and temporary, our place in the universe truly is. Because one day, billions of years from now, the sun will set for the final time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the mystery of the sun, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more fascinating stories about space, science, and the mysteries of our universe.